What's going on, guys? It's Weather with Jonathan here, and I'm back with another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about why I think this March could be historic. So, you guys already know we had that extreme blizzard in the Great Lakes region around Christmas Day, right? Well, guess what? That was an Alberta Clipper, and an Alberta Clipper is a fast-moving mid-latitude cyclone that has a powerful warm sector centered over the eastern Great Lakes region and a cold Arctic front from the Chicago area all the way south as the Oklahoma City region and all the way back up north as far as Williston, North Dakota. Now, guess what? You can probably guess. If I show you what this looks like, you'll probably have your first instinct be, this is probably going to bring down a lot of cold air. Well, you're exactly right, especially when it forms this half circle type shape. Now, guess what, you guys? This is something that happens in January or February. Now, what makes this different is that this is in March, and I'm about to take a deep dive into how this happens. First, we need to understand how this happens. The February jet stream was a lot different this year. Instead of this being the case, we actually had this the case, allowing warm air to come up from the south and colder air to be on the west coast. Now, this year it's the complete opposite. And this month it's going to take a complete switch. You can see we have that little divot in the jet stream right there, and then it keeps like bumping, and that is called oscillating. That is when it bumps southward or spills southward. And if you guys didn't know, I'll give you an example. The polar vortex up here is like a spinning top. When it moves clockwise, it's moving fast. Now think of it as a top. When it first starts out, it's moving very fast, which means it's going to keep its cold air in there. Now, when the top starts to slow down, it starts to wobble, and that cold air gets further southward. And then eventually the top completely spills over and the Arctic air blast comes in. And that is exactly what could be happening this March. I'm going to be showing you this. So, like I just said, the Atlantic and Pacific waves oscillate. Now, it's mostly the Atlantic waves. Now, in order to understand how that works, we have to look at our jet stream. This is what it looks like. And guess what? The only problem with this time is that low pressure systems ride this and go up here, now into the Great Lakes region. Now, what the problem is that we have that warm sector. That's where our warm air meets. This is the Great Lakes, and that's our low pressure center. Now, that is our cold front. It just about matches with that. I'll draw a better comparison. But yeah, so you can probably already tell this definitely is going to cause a lot of cold air. Because if you have the jet stream starting to turn northwesternly in the west coast, it's going to cause warm air to go up there. And that is exactly what happens. When you have that high pressure system centered over the North Atlantic up to about Oregon, that's when you start getting some really warm air. And that's going to continue to shift north. But the only problem is that cold air is not shifting north either. That's shifting south. And this is why we could have one of the coldest Marches on record. Now, if we take a look at what this could look like, I'll show you right here. You can see the low pressure system is clearly in this model run. You can clearly see this low pressure system. You can see multiple. I mean, this one is almost about over the Great Lakes. This will completely go over the Great Lakes because it moves in the northeasterly track. And this is over the Great Lakes. So, what happens when that when that crosses over the Great Lakes? Well, it's going to cause explosive snowfall. Now, why does that happen? Well, I'll tell you. And the reason that happens is because we have snow, and that's not exactly why. So, you can see our wind, right? Well, the storms, the only problem is that with the snow, the reason it is so high and you get so much snow and you get it to last so long is you get lake effect snow. And how that happens is you have to have winds out of the west, and you can clearly see it on my with the lines, and you can see without my drawing, you can clearly see that we have lines. And guess what? You know where they're all going? They're going to the east. And guess what? That's going to cause wind to blow towards the edge of Lake Michigan, the eastern edge. And guess what? When you have that warm air, which I'm about to show you, guess what happens? It rises and forms clouds. And you can see clearly this is what could really be starting our cold air. You can see dew points up to 50, which is really going to cause clouds to develop, and that's exactly what causes those thunderstorms. You can see clearly, like clearly. You can see. Watch where I am drawing right now. This is will be our most heaviest impacted areas. So watch it as I pull this out. You're going to see a lot of snow just keep coming off the Great Lakes. And by the time this is all said and done, we could be looking at potential historic snowfall totals upwards of 2.5 feet. And this is just going to keep continuing. And then as we get out into later, actually, that area I just showed you, that's actually going to shift a little more south, and that's going to go into the UP of Michigan and extreme northern Wisconsin. Now, this is what I'm really concerned about for snow, is in these areas. Now, that is because of that Alberta Clipper. You can see we have that warm air rising up off the Great Lakes, and that causes snow. And when you have that colder air on the backside, what you get is you get that that precipitation form in the frozen precipitation. And that's what causes that. And that's what causes these really high snow totals. That's upwards of about 2 feet in most places. And entire line, in this entire line right here, that area gets about 2 feet of snow. Now, why that happens is because if you have that low pressure system over the Great Lakes, what happens is when you have that cold air coming on the backside, especially with an Alberta Clipper, what happens is you have that snow instead, not up here, but instead down here. Now, when that happens, that's going to cause lake effect snow too, because you have that warm air rising off the Great Lakes, and then you have those winds blowing out of the east. So that causes frozen precipitation to move over the Great Lake region and impact the eastern part of Michigan, and that causes some very high snow totals, and that is about 30 inches. And yeah, so that is why this March could be potentially historic. And I just want to show you our temperatures of what we could be looking at right after this Alberta Clipper is just completely said and done. That is what it could look like. We could see temperatures in Florida and places like Tallahassee or Pensacola down upwards to down to possibly 25 degrees. That is very cold. And then that is our real Arctic air blast for the south. Temperatures reaching about 10 degrees Fahrenheit. That is very cold. And then, yes, we do have that warm air really starting to come in, but nope. That cold air really is trying to just stay down there. And that's going to lead to a rather cold pattern. So that's why we could be seeing a long period of snowfall for the upper Midwest, the northern plains, and the Great Lake region, and maybe even the Northeast. I think that could happen. But yeah, I just want to real quick show you what our snowfall totals could be like until March 20th. You can see a lot of snow, and that Arctic air is going to start not only dumping multiple feet of snow from the west coast all the way into the Great Lakes region in the northeast, but that's actually going to cause some snow further south than it really should be. So that's why I think this March could be a historic event. And a historic month in terms of snowfall and temperature. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Consider sharing it with your family and friends, liking the video, and subscribing. Hope you enjoyed my video. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.